All right, another one. This is called Smoky Mountain Rose, an Appalachian Cinderella by Alan Schroeder, illustrated by Brad Sneed. Now they talk a little different, so I'm going to try my best. Now listen, smack in the heart of the Smoky Mountains, there was this old trapper living in a log cabin with his daughter. One night while Rose was frying a mess of fish, the trapper, he starts looking dejected like. "I reckon it's hard on ye not having a ma," he said. "Tell me, Rose, would you like me to get hitched again? The widow woman with 2 daughters down the road a piece. Way I see it, we'd fit together neater 'n a jigsaw." "I don't mind," said Rose, setting a plate of cornbread on the table. "You go courtin', Pa, if you think it's best." So before the huckleberries was fit for pickin', the trapper got himself hitched for the second time. That's when the trouble started a-brewin'. You see, Gertie, the new wife, she was just about the crossest, fearsome woman that side o' Tarbelly Creek. And her 2 daughters, why, they were so mean they'd steal flies from a blind spider. And vain, them girls could waste a whole day admiring themselves in the mirror. "Ain't I purty?" Annie would say, peering into the glass. "Not as purty as me," Eliza Jane would retort. "Y'all watch, someday I'm going to marry me a fine gentleman, go to Memphis and live like a lady." Rose, on the other hand, was a sweet little thing, always looking out for others and taking care of sick critters and the like. Annie and Eliza Jane couldn't stand the sight of her. To be ornery, they dressed her in the sorriest looking rags and made her do plumb near every chore. Well, it just about broke the trapper's heart to see his daughter milking the cow and collecting the firewood and churning the butter. He would have talked to Gertie about it, but talking to her was like kicking an agitated rattler. The trapper figured it was best to say nothing at all. This went on for a long time. Then one day the trapper up and died. Rose had loved her pa something fierce, and for days on end she couldn't stop a-weepin'. Finally, Gertie lit into her mean as a hornet. "Shut up that crying," she screeched. "I'm gonna feed you to the dogs here." From then on, Rose's life was just about as hard as it could be. Chores from sun up to sundown. Of course, she thought of running away, but she didn't have anywhere to go. She figured she just had to set it out and wait for a better day to come along. Now, it so happens that on the other side of the creek, there was this real rich feller. Made his fortune in sow bellies and grits. Well, this feller wasn't hitched yet, so one day he gets the bright idea to invite all the neighbor people to a fancy old party, thinking he might find himself a wife. When Annie and Eliza Jane got their invitation, they plumb near went crazy with excitement. "I'm going to order me a brand new dress out of that there catalog," Annie declared. "No, you ain't," cried Eliza Jane. "That catalog's mine, you skunk. Take your hands off it." Now Rose, she sort of figured she was invited too. When Annie and Eliza Jane heard about that, they started howling. "Lord of mercy, who'd want to dance with a dirt clod like you?" For the next few days, they worked Rose like they was fixing to kill her. A full hour before the sun was up, she'd be ironing their dresses and polishing their shoes and every other darn fool thing. Now Rose, she wanted to go to the something awful, but she held her tongue for fear of being laughed at again. The actual night of the shindig, the 2 sisters were downright hateful. "Hand me that comb, stupid. Tie up my hair ribbon. Where's my corset?" Rose ran and left and right, trying to keep up with their demands. Finally, towards 7 o'clock, Gertie and her daughters piled into the tater wagon. Whipping the mule, they went a-rumbling down the dirt road, chortling out "Skip to Maloo" at the top of their lungs. Rose, meanwhile, sat next to the pigsty and cried. Far off across the creek, she could hear the sound of fiddle music. That made her cry even harder. Just then, one of the hogs come moseying up to the fence and starts talking to her. "You sure look miserable, honey, but Don't you fret none. I know magic and I can help. Rose, she just stared, figuring she'd done lost her wits. But the hog kept right on talking. First of all, we gotta get you out of them rags. Now stand up and turn around real fast, like you got a wampus cat biting at your britches. Rose did just what the hog told her. When she looked down, she was wearing the purtiest party dress she ever laid eyes on. I must be dreaming, she said to herself. The hog studied her real careful like. Looking good, sister, but time's a-wasting. We gotta get you over to that shindig. Go fetch me a mushmelon and 2 field mice. And Rose did just what she was told. Now watch, said the hog, and directly the mushmelon was turned into a big old wagon, and the mice, 2 strong horses with silky manes and shiny teeth. Real show critters. Rose was thrilled to pieces. She was all set to hop up on the wagon when the hog let out a big snort. Why, look at them filthy bare feet. That won't do at all. Close your eyes. Now open 'em. Rose looked down. On each foot she was wearing a sparkling glass slipper. You like 'em? Asked the hog. Well, said Rose, trying to be polite, they're not too practical for square dancing, but they sure are purty. The hog watched as Rose climbed up into the wagon. Now don't forget, the spell's only good till midnight, so you gotta be home by then. I'll remember, said Rose, and off she went a-rumbling down the dirt road, just as happy as can be. The shindig was even fancier than she'd reckoned. There were 2 fiddlers, a harmonica man, even a dance caller come all the way from Nashville. Everyone was dancing and laughing and drinking cup after cup of sarsaparilla. It's kind of like root beer. Now, the rich feller, he wasn't having such a good time. No one had caught his fancy, see, and all of a sudden Rose came in through the big barn door. She was so pretty that everyone stopped dead in their tracks. The 2 stepsisters, they practically choked on their cider. Well, shut my mouth, one of them whispered. How'd she get in here, and where'd she get all them clothes? I ought to wring her neck, snapped the other. She's been going through my boudoir. They watched, jaws a-dropping, as the rich feller went hurrying up to Rose, thrusting out his hand. Pleased to meet you, missy, he said real friendly. My name's Seb. How about taking a turn round the dance floor? My pleasure, said Rose, and off they went, arm in arm. Neighbors cleared a space and watched as the 2 lovebirds started promenading to the tune O Boldy Halter. 8 hands up and go to the left. Backwards now and home you go. All evening long, Rose and Seb kicked up their heels, having a high old time. Gertie and her 2 daughters stood off to the side, madder and mazes. Look at her, sneered Gertie, sashaying round like she's the belle of the ball. I'll fix her when she gets home. Give her a list o' chores she won't never finish. Just then Rose happened to glance at the big granddaddy clock in the corner. Tarnation, she cried, it's midnight. Without another word, she went dashing out the barn door. Poor thing was running so fast, one of her slippers went flying off into the dirt. She'd have fetched it, but there weren't time. Come back, cried Seb, chasing after her. But Rose's wagon was already rattling down the road just as fast as it could go. No sooner was she out of sight than everything turned back the way it used to be. The wagon was a mushmelon again, and Rose had to walk home dressed in rags. Only thing that hadn't changed was the remaining glass slipper, which she tucked in her pocket for safekeeping. Before going indoors, Rose stopped by the sty to say thank you. Any time, sugar, said the hog. Now Gertie and her daughters, they came tearing home about 10 minutes later. Rose was already asleep by the fire. Ain't you gonna whip her now, Ma? Said Eliza Jane. My whippings arm tired. I'll do it tomorrow, said Gertie. You gals get to bed now and get your beauty sleep. Don't worry, there'll be fireworks in the morning. Sure enough, the next day Gertie lit into Rose something awful. Showing up at that party making my girls look like fools, she screeched. I'll arm ya. Grabbing the switch, she was all set to whip Rose when 2 daughters came flying up the hill. Listen, Ma, cried Aunt, that rich feller. He found Rose's shoe in the dirt, and now he's going round to every house to find the owner. "And that ain't all," said Eliza Jane. "That feller, Ma, he's plumb crazy. Said he's getting hitched with the first person it fits on, and I reckon it's gonna be me." "Well then, hurry up and get ready," said Gertie. "And listen, y'all, whichever you gets the wedding ring and moves to Memphis, I'm coming along, and ye ain't leaving me behind." Then turning to Rose, Gertie warned, "You stay out of sight or I'll blister your rump something fierce." Half an hour later, Seb came rattling up the road in his wagon. Gertie was there waiting on the porch, shucking peas. "Why, it's the sow belly and grits feller," she said, acting real surprised. "Come on in and sit down. Understand you found my daughter's shoe." Before Seb had even said howdy do, Annie came flying out the porch, sticking out her foot. "Me first," she yelled, setting herself down on a big milk bucket. Now Seb, he commenced to tugging and pulling, but getting the slipper onto her foot was like trying to stretch a little bitty sausage skin over a hide of beef. "Get out of my way," said Eliza Jane, pushing her sister aside, and right away she starts a batting her eyes at Seb. "I want to thank you for returning my shoe," she said. "I about fell into a fidget o' fear when I saw it was gone." But Seb could tell she was just sweet-talking. The minute the tugging started, Eliza Jane purr near went blue in the face. "Let me get the axe," she gasped. "I'll get that shoe to fit on if it kills me." Oh dear. Just then Seb spotted Rose standing off near the pigsty. "Weren't you at the shindig last night?" he called down. Rose went on feeding the hogs like she didn't hear him. "Come over here and stick out your foot," Seb told her. He watched as Rose came a-walking toward him. You look mighty familiar, Missy. Come on now, just sit yourself down on this here bucket and stick out your tootsie." Annie and Liza held their breath as Rose stretched out her pretty little foot. "Now hold still," Seb told her, and wouldn't you know it, that slipper went gliding right on just as smooth as butter. When Gertie saw that, she started a screeching. "That weasel! She's a-tricking ye! Why, my daughters are a heap purtier 'n her." But Seb, he didn't pay her no mind. Happy as a pig in a peanut patch, he took up Rose's hand and held it tight. "I knew I'd find ye," he whispered, and Rose nodded, all teary-eyed. Then remembering the other slipper, she took it out of her pocket and put it on. Very same moment, the hog started snorting and kicking up a fuss, and when Rose looked down again, she was wearing the exact same dress she had on at the shindig, looking just as pretty as blue bonnets in spring. Upon seeing that, the two stepsisters, they done burst into tears. "Our precious little sister gonna be marrying into money," and they set to fussing over her like they just loved her to pieces. Now Rose, she could have turned her back on 'em, but she didn't. Sweet thing, she figured it was best to forgive and forget. "I love ye like soup loves salt," she told him, and from then on, Annie and Eliza Jane never gave her a moment of grief or heartache. And the wedding that followed, well, it was just about the biggest shindig ever seen in the Smoky Mountains. To this day, Rose and Seb are still living there, and folks reckon they're about the happiest twosome in all o' Tarbelly Creek. Oh, wasn't that cute? Smoky Mountain Rose, Appalachian Cinderella. Thank you for reading it with me.